Tonight, a real superstar of the Australian musical stage. A bloke who, right from the outset of his astounding career, clearly knew exactly what he wanted to do.
I had some sort of a dream and I just headed for it.
G'day, welcome to another GNT Thursday Night Profile. Well, what do you say about tonight's chosen one that hasn't been said arguably much better by hundreds of others? But the fact is, it was probably in the cards, the stars, the tea leaves and just about any other wacko stuff that predicts these things that Reg Livermore was probably born to be an outrageously flamboyant star of the stage. He grew up in a theatrical family who lovingly encouraged his quote-unquote expressive urges. Not an eyebrow was raised when young Reg took to dressing up in his sister's clothes. His credits represent a gigantic slice of Australian musical theatre history, from Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar to the Rocky Horror Show, in which he made the infamous role of Frankenfurter his own forever. His full-on performances and personal warmth have invariably seduced audiences and won over hard-headed critics. After a few years' rest from hoofing the boards, keeping busy as a TV presenter and writing his autobiography, these days our Reg is back where he was always meant to be, on stage in what he considers his most challenging role yet. We'll be asking Reg about that and other things Livermore in a tick. But first, let's see how the kid from Parramatta took his first steps on the stairway, not to heaven, but to stardom.
My father's side, he had 5 sisters, very gregarious girls, and everybody seemed to sing and dance. During the war years, the Second World War years, when I was a toddler, I just got caught up in this sort of home entertainment business. And it seemed to me that entertainment really was where I wanted to place myself in life. I didn't have my own theatre, but a playmate had a playroom under the house that he lived in, and I thought, this is a very fine theatre for me, so I more or less took it over. And then I'd rope in the local kids and all my friends, and I'd write shows and we'd put them on, and we then moved sort of to up the ladder a bit by hiring local halls. I was determined. I had some sort of a dream, and I just headed for it. I did my stretch of schooling. I went to the 5 years. In those days it was 5th year, and that was when you finished. But I didn't get enough subjects to go to the university because I was still being urged that perhaps I should become a dentist or a doctor or something ridiculous. So I went back again. Basically, the reason I went back was to do the school play, Othello, which was a great opportunity for me. And so I carried it off extremely well, and then I just packed up and left school. That was it. I didn't go back after the last night.
Here at Sydney's Phillip Street Theatre, the audience have taken their seats as we see.
Not long after I left school, I did my audition for the Phillip Street Theatre, and they gave me the job.
Because that party across the hall is in its 6th or 7th night.
While I was working there, I started to attend the classes that Hayes Gordon was holding every weekend. And suddenly I'd found a real reason to be doing what I was doing. Because he gave me a technique that I could fall back on for all of my life, and an attitude about my work. I was always very lucky in that there was always a job for me, and I went wherever the jobs took me, whether it was to Melbourne, to Adelaide, or around Sydney, whatever. And I was working in the theatre, I was working in radio studios.
Welcome to Crackerjack!
Crackerjack covered the spectrum, really, in terms of entertainment, there was things for the kids, games, there were pop stars who'd come on and sing a number.
Well, now it's time for our first elimination contest for the Jig Jack quiz. Which
they thought that I would probably be the ideal person to host this show because I could do sketches, I could do a bit of comparing, and so away I went into television.
You're a reckless driver, my word you are.
I got to the stage when I was sort of heading towards 30 that I realised that I'd actually done everything. I'd done the full circle, and what was I going to do now? Harry Miller's production of Hair hit Sydney in mid-1969, and I found myself as one of the tribe in Hair. That was a great moment. I could see that if I went on that stage, in that show, I would, in fact, free myself.
Because he's got such a blasting energy, it seemed to liberate something in him, which I think was great for the show, but also, I suspect, great for Reg.
Sentimental.
something got into me, something wild, truly wild.
On the ocean of reality.
I don't think I could control it. This really was a performance quite unlike anything that had been seen on that stage.
Reg, great to see you.
Thank you, George.
It always is. You really can't stand entertaining people, can you? You really hate getting up there making a galah of yourself, don't you?
I know. It's taken me to some strange places, I have to say.
Indeed. Was it inevitable? It seems, looking at that wonderful montage, those recollections of bits and pieces of your past like that, was it inevitable that you were going to go on the stage?
Oh, I think so. I know so, really. And I knew so from, I was a toddler that high. As I intimated, that
How did you know that? I mean, very few of us know that early what we want to do. How did you know that you wanted to be Reg Livermore, entertainer?
Well, initially because I was in that close-knit family, who were all singing and dancing, and I was part of it, and I wasn't seeing much else of life. It just became the most natural thing for me to do every day, more or less. Every day there was an opportunity to do
It's better than having a family full of accountants, isn't it?
Oh, exactly. And my father, he was working in the movie business, managing theatres, and so we were able to see films for nothing, whenever we wanted to go up there to the Cremorne Orpheum. And yes, it was all entertainment, it was all show business. And of course I wanted to be one of those make-believe characters up there, or the real people, that you could see in a theatre. Yeah. My mind was set on being a Laurence Olivier, or one of in the English tradition of the classic actors. Not that it was a great opportunity for that sort of thing in this country.
How much of it are you doing for Reg Livermore, and how much for the audience? I mean, you're doing, is it a self-gratifying thing? Or is it that you really, really want people to go away from the theatre feeling as though you've entertained them?
It's for them. It's really for them. I have certain expectations of myself, as they probably have of me. So, there is that element, obviously. But it's not, gee, I did well tonight. I never think that. And the applause doesn't really mean a great deal either. I'm glad to see people happy enough, or satisfied sufficiently to clap you. But in the end, it's for them. That's the reason I get up there. I must say I love it. I do love it. I resent it, but I love it.
You resent it?
I sometimes resent it.
What do you mean by that? That's a contradiction in terms, isn't it, really? Or it sounds a bit that way.
It seems like that but the older you get, the more difficult it becomes in terms of the energy. Now, my body is probably breaking down, but my energy isn't. And so, So your body's trying to keep up with your energy all the time. Yes, and it's the energy and everything that goes with that energy, which is the performer, that says, you've got to do that.
How much of you do you put into it, and how much do you simply interpret what you think the writer or the producer or the director wants Reg Livermore to be?
Well, up until a certain point in my career, I certainly followed the instructions. Yes, exactly. But once those things started to happen in the 60s and right through then to the 70s and up till now, the opportunity was more than obvious. It was more than obvious that I had to take this thing and I had to bring myself to it. And so there's very little I can do these days that wouldn't actually be Reg.
Did you see yourself as breaking any theatrical moulds?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Because your stuff is, and we're going to see in a moment, even more outrageous stuff. It was off the wall, over the top.
But I think I was just reflecting the times. I wasn't like that off the stage.
No, actually, that's true. I mean, we've known each other for a long while. I've never thought of you as being
off the wall,
normal, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Person.
No, I think it was just the times were right, and I was right for the times, and I had an imagination, a real imagination for the sorts of things that I was attempting.
But Hair was breakthrough, wasn't it? That was a soil-breaking role for you. How important was it?
Oh, it was the most important thing that happened. As it was the liberating factor, because the things that I'd been doing were in that sort of traditional mould that I'd set out for myself, and also that were available in this country. That was all it was possible to do, and I did them all. But it wasn't freeing. It was going to become cramping of my style rather than liberating. But Hair, there it was. There was this thing, this space. I had to be part of that space.
And you got to let your hair grow long and take your clothes off on stage in public.
I did all of that.
Wonderful stuff. Let's see what happened after Hair. Okay.
I I eventually played King Herod in Jesus Christ Superstar, and that was another great sort of defining moment, theatrically, for me and for the audience.
How'd you do? I see you met my faithful handyman.
And then suddenly it was the Rocky Horror Show, and there I was, Dr. Frankenfurter.
Don't get strung out by the way I look.
That firmly and finally, I think, established me as the star that I always believed I ought to be, that I wanted to be in this country.
But by night I am one hell of a lover.
It seemed obvious when we were doing it that Reg would play Frankenfurter. He gave it a kind of Betty Davis spin, I suppose. It was certainly a much more aggressive version of it than I'd seen previously, and theatrically it was also quite thrilling.
Let's do the time warp again.
It did sort of leave me deranged, I suppose, some nights, because I remember being in total fantasy land, absolute fantasy land. And you know, with all those people lapping it up and screaming and clapping you on, well, you know, it was very hard to think that you were a normal sort of person. After Rocky, Eric Dare asked me if I'd be interested in doing a one-man show. I started writing a few sketches and designed the sort of thing that was going to be. And out of this came Betty Blockbuster Follies.
My name is Betty Blockbuster, and I am here to make you happy.
A success, so big a success. I mean, it had never, ever crossed my mind that anything like that could actually happen to me or to anyone in this country. An Australian doing his own thing on that scale.
Gloria Dover was the woman for whom I abandoned my very promising future.
Leonard was a character I created as a nod to Roy Reen, Mo, our early 20th century comic.
That, really.
In fact, he became my most enduring character because he could say anything.
Get off your bum, you lazy bastard, she said to me. You get off your arse and do some work.
With so little time and so much to do.
People talk about, where do you get this energy? Where's this energy coming from? You know, they say, you on pills? I said, no, I'm not on pills. I said, I just can't help it. It's just a fire that comes inside my belly when I walk on the stage.
So hello, I'm all alone.
I was very excited to go to London and to take a show which was a compilation of all of the one-man shows I'd done in Australia. It was called Sacred Cow. And the West End was something that I had in my secret dreaming.
Nobody has the rights to be the judge of what is right for me. Tell
I
me.
obviously offended them. My style of entertainment was a bit raw. I used to come on stage and people would laugh and I hadn't done anything. And so it was hard going. In a way, I didn't care. You know, I was glad to put that dreaming to rest.
We'll talk about failure in a minute.
Yeah, righto.
And flops and things like that. It must have been a blow. But who's your favourite character? Is it Frankenfurter?
No, well, it was at the time. You know, I thought I should be paying Harry Miller for having engaged me. But which characters are my favourite? I think you do them and you leave them. You know, you say
You have to
goodbye
become the character at the time.
for the time, and
yeah.
you know, I get everything I can out of them. I get every nuance, every subtlety, every sort of aspect that I want to know about, and you know, I might be able to convey to the audience or not. But the thing is, once they're done, they're done.
Yeah, I saw Betty Blockbuster with my mum.
Yeah.
And Leonard outraged my mum actually said to me in the Bijou Theatre in Balmain, I'm not sure I should be here. That was the way her generation reacted. But she would not move a muscle. She loved the whole thing and became an instant Reg Livermore fan.
She'd have been happier if she'd been there with a girlfriend, I think.
Probably. Being there with her son was a bit tricky.
Yeah,
a bit
yes.
tricky. She wasn't supposed to get the jokes and she wasn't supposed to think the swearing was funny.
That's right. And I think, you know, generally speaking, men should have been there by themselves, not with their wives. You know, because either one of the party would be uncomfortable.
Yes, because you were breaking down barriers, weren't you, and prejudices and
I seem to be
narrow-mindedness.
Just by talking about the issues openly. But once again, you know, I didn't even know I was doing that particularly. Because I'd had all that upbringing with the Phillip Street Theatre, you know, topicality. I think that sort of came into the essence of my Betty Blockbuster Follies and all the other shows. They were like reviews. I mean, you know, in simple terms, they were reviews.
Yeah, so there was despite the biggie entertainment factor, you actually felt as though you were saying something that needed to be said.
Oh yes, I did. Because the issue of whether a comedy is just comedy for its own sake, or whether it's based on something serious, and that's what I believe. That what I was offering was humorous because people could relate to it, and that because it had a serious core, and therefore some things are funnier because of that.
Why do the characters have to be most of them anyway, so high camp, if that's the term? I mean, how do you describe them?
Oh, I don't know. Outrageous was the word that was used at the time. Outrageous, what's that? Well, because
But dressing up in the high heels and the fishnet stockings and the...
Yeah, but they weren't all in high heels.
No,
they weren't
true.
all in fishnets. Frankenfurter
Just the
was.
ones we remember.
Yeah. All of my women were in high heel shoes because I had that model of shoe that I'd worn in... Rocky Horror Show, and I took it with me and had copies made in different colours from all the women I played in my own shows.
Yeah, but see, playing a woman in itself, turned a few, heads.
Yeah, but I was...
curled a few eyebrows.
But it was more... I was a pantomime dame. You know what I mean? Hairy legs, hairy armpits, hairy chest. I wasn't trying to be a woman or to pass. Yes. I was just from the pantomime dames.
London.
Okay.
Mate, that must have been devastating. There you were, you thought the next logical step for me professionally and theatrically is to hit the big time in London, and you did, and you got booed off stage, no less. I mean, boy,
well, I didn't...
must have been a big dent in
it certainly did. I didn't see it as this is my next goal, to make the big time. I'd made the big time. In my imagination, I'd made the big time. I'd done it here, that's all. That was the only difference. See, it goes back also to the time that I went to England as a young man, and I realised, wanting to make my career, and I realised that if I was going to do it, I'm going to have to do something about the way I talk, change my vowel sounds. I have to become English. So where is Reg, the boy from Australia? He gets lost, he's drowned, he's buried. And I didn't want to do that, so I came home. And so there I go back to London, and the same thing happens. I am raw Reg from Australia, and unacceptable. So tough.
So what was the emotional and psychological impact of that dreadful four-letter word, flop?
I felt terrible, especially as, I had to do the show for, let's say 3 weeks after those dreadful notices came out in England. And that was very difficult. And when I said, I used to walk on stage and they laughed at me, it wasn't because I was funny. I hadn't actually done a thing. I just come on very seriously dressed in a dinner suit with a big black cape to sing Captain Jack, and they're laughing, screaming with laughter. And I'm thinking, there must be somebody behind me doing something.
I'm not that good.
No,
I don't get laughs that easily.
Yeah.
Yep. But eventually, you got quite worn out by the level of work that you've been involved in, didn't you? And you decided like almost a sea change was required.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's have a look at the next stage.
All right, yeah.
Moved to the lovely Blue Mountains,
yep.
Which is also the point in both our lives when we met.
That's right, yeah.
Let's have a look and see what happened to the energy when you went to the Blue Mountains.
I was able to turn my back on the theatre for 5 years, in fact, and just direct all my energies and my creativity to the garden. I hadn't been doing anything. I was almost a slob by that stage. After 5 years, I thought, if I don't do something soon, I'll never do anything again.
All right, Caroline, what are you clipping there?
I'm clipping some rosemary, Reg.
And then along came Burke's backyard and our house.
Hey, caramba!
And there I was, 18 years after Crackerjack, resuming my television career as a presenter.
Is that? Oh, thanks very much.
It was a great gig, as they say, because I really only had to work about 2 or 3 days a fortnight.
Hootsman! What is a Scotsman doing interested in Japanese gardens?
At the same time as doing television, I could appear at the local theatre restaurant in Katoomba and do my one-man shows, 3 times a week. It was a perfect life. Perfect life.
Right. Hey! You want the ratings to go through the roof?
When I heard that the Producers was going to be presented in Australia, I thought, now surely that's a part I could play, Max Bialystok role. And Mel Brooks and the American creative team chose me to play the role.
You have a good day off?
Yes, very nice. Thank you, and you?
Yeah, probably just keeping it in bay, really.
I don't have to do too much. I certainly don't have to sit in a corner, sort of talking myself into it, that's for sure. In fact, before it starts, I'm rather dreading the first notes of music. I'm thinking, oh God, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your half-hour call. You have 30 minutes until Act 1 begins.
So how are you tonight, Reg?
I'm not deciding that yet. I'm 65. I'm got the biggest role probably I've ever had in my life, in the biggest show that I've ever been in my life. And people are enjoying what I do.
This is a very, very demanding role. I can't think of anybody else in the country who would be mad enough to do it.
You'll see my name in lights again. I'll go from dark to brights again. My spirit's high as kites again. I'll never...
The stage is where I live, basically. That's my my furnace, you know. That's what gets me going and fires me, and you know, I love doing it.
Fame is in my sights again. I'll take those fancy flights again.
I'm always chuffed when people say that I'm a generous performer, and I think that if that's one of the characteristics that I'm remembered by, that he was a generous performer, that means he gave, he gave.
Well, we'll talk about the wonderful Max in a moment, but when we met, you'd hurled yourself full speed into that garden. And I felt quite privileged because you let us into your home with television cameras and stuff like that. Your private life has always been really, really private and important. What were you protecting?
Oh, just myself, I suppose. I mean, yeah, and my sense of self.
So there is another Reg. There is this...
Oh, yeah, there is.
Reg that closes the gate, goes into the garden, spends time with your partner.
Yeah. Well, you know, generosity, you know, you give, but in the end you just sort of think, I just want to be by myself, you know, be with myself, with my partner, you know, and just do the things that most people do.
You've never really talked much about the fact that you've had gay relationships all your life.
No.
Your sexuality didn't appear to matter to people.
No, I don't think it did. I mean, one night at a preview of the producers, you know, I start off singing in the first song, you know, there was a time when I was young and gay, but straight, and a woman who was sitting next to maybe Rob, my partner, said, "Oh, Reg, you've never been straight in your life." And so you think, well, I wasn't hiding anything.
But isn't it good? Isn't it good that, because when we met, and I don't think I even raised your sexuality.
No, you didn't. No.
In the early 80s, it was not the thing to do.
No.
Do you think that we've actually progressed where these things are concerned, that we are a more tolerant society than we were?
Yeah, I hope
were there
so.
tricky moments for you, though?
No.
In the past?
No, not really. I wish I could say it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I can say that there weren't any tricky moments. But no, as I say, it hasn't been an issue. And I suppose I've been guarded about it, if that's the word, was because of my father, who was in, who obviously knows, but who was in the newspaper business and dealt with a lot of people every day. And he would be a sort of a sounding board for what they thought about me. And I just didn't want him to have to answer questions on my behalf, because Dad would know what's on the newsstands, you know. So it was all that sort of thing.
But how did they handle it?
Fine.
Yep.
Yeah, fine.
The producers is clearly an unbelievable hallmark for you.
Yeah.
Probably the greatest role, as you said yourself, you know. Probably no other role like it.
Max Bialystock, obviously we have a lot in common. You know, we've both been in the theatre for a long time. We've both had our share of ups and downs, and, you know, we're survivors. So I can identify with him on those grounds.
A bit autobiographical to that extent.
Well, it could be. Yes, it could be. I don't think I'm quite the scoundrel that he is, you know, because I'm on the other side of it. He's the producer, yes. I'm the performer.
Yes. How terrifying was it for someone, even with your breadth and depth of experience over the years, to be doing a production by Mel Brooks?
It was hard to actually believe or give credence to the fact that this was this man. When I did the audition, he said to me, "You're not going to ever be a credible Jewish New York producer, and I don't think you should waste your time trying. What I want the people to do, I want them to say, that's our Reg up there, we love him." He just said, you know, I want to see more of you. I want to see you.
What do you think of doing when Reg Livermore can't do that, when you can't tramp the boards, when you can't throw yourself about, you know? When you can't do, what will you do?
Oh, I don't know. That's hard, really hard. You know, I don't want to teach.
You're allowed to say that's a stupid question, George.
Well, it's not a stupid question, George. It's just that I haven't had my back to the wall enough to think, what am I going to do? You know, how resourceful will I be?
So largely
sandwich shop.
A sandwich shop?
Well, I like sandwiches.
Because you had a restaurant at one stage.
I did, yeah, but I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
I often say a sandwich shop may not be so bad.
Yeah.
The hours are better.
I find it hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Reg, it's wonderful to see you.
Yes.
Always is.
Yes, thank you, George.
Thank you. Well, coming up next week, the story of Len Bedell, carving remote roads out of the wilderness. Years of heat, dust, flies and nappies.
Lenny has been described as Australia's last great explorer.
The Roadmaker, that's next Monday on History GNT. Meanwhile, don't forget our website, abc.net.au/GNT. Ciao for now. Have a safe Friday night and a bonza weekend. See you Monday at 6:30. Ciao. It's been great talking to Reg. I told you it'd be a wild ride. On Tuesday next week, a look at modern life in Australia, the impact of the new millennium. And on Wednesday, where the heck do architects get their ideas from, both the good ones and the bad ones? That's next week on GNT. See you then.